Hello, hello. Welcome back. This is Anime Initiative. I'm your host, Megan Peters, and I'm here with my good friends and coworkers, Nick Valdez and Evan Valentine. What's up, guys?
Howdy, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. Well, if you're looking to talk or listen about anime, if you want to talk to yourselves while we're talking to you, let's have a conversation. This is the show. This is the show where we talk all things anime. We talk manga. We talk webtoons. We talk animation. We talk about all the geeky, nerdy interest stuff that just makes us tick here, at Anime Initiative. And we have a lot to talk about today because I don't know about you two, but I have a lot of big feelings about Hunter x Hunter, and that's like the number one thing being discussed in the fandom right now. And I'm really grateful I said Hunter x Hunter because for the longest time I said Hunter x Hunter, and I'm
Yep. Yep.
sure that would make everybody listening to this podcast livid.
We would lose our anime cred immediately.
Truly,
if
we
You
would just be known as Initiative.
we say that, right? But then, we have Megan Thee Stallion in interviews saying Hunter x Hunter. So, like, I'm also like, maybe it is Hunter
Look,
x Hunter.
if it's good enough for Megan Thee Stallion, my true queen, then it's literally good for everyone else. I will just never forget. I think it was in high school. I went to like a local anime convention as my first tangent of this podcast, and I said the actual words Hunter x Hunter, and every single person I was having a conversation with just looked at me like I was the stupidest person in the room. So I've got trauma associated with it. But if you couldn't tell, we're going to be talking about Hunter x Hunter today. If you did not know, it looks like the manga is making or is at least creeping towards a comeback. So we're going to discuss all of that in our deep dive portion of this episode of Anime Initiative. But first, we have a ton of news to go through in the first half of our show. We had a major premiere for My Hero Academia. We had a new manga release from Attack on Titan, which, always surprising. Plus, we had a couple of One Piece teasers go live. But first, we got to talk about my boy Deku because season 7 of My Hero Academia has like actually begun. I know technically the season started like a month ago, but like we've been in recap La La Land for so long. But now season 7, like the first legit episode is out, and it is so good. Like I feel like the team at like Studio Bones like really listened to people who are like, guys, give us more of that like kind of dark atmospheric like content that we want. I think we could have a little bit more, but it was good. Have y'all seen it yet?
Oh, of
Oh
course.
yeah.
Of course.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I just want to hear Nick's. I just want to hear Nick's opinion.
Oh, yeah. Well, yes, because I've spent so long bashing season 6.
Truly. Yeah, this is the test with Nick. I need to know what Nick thinks about it because you are very objective when it comes to the series.
Oh yeah, well, you hate the things you love, right? And
Right.
so, and that's kind of my stance with My Hero Academia. As we've seen in the later seasons, it got kind of whack. Not only because of like story lapses. I'm not saying that anything should be skippable or anything like that. I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, skip the culture festival arc, because if you miss that, you'll miss out on like some of the huge moments coming later on. So please don't skip anything. But at the same time, it's clear that just the anime just did not have the same impact as it did before. 6 seasons in, that's kind of the story, right? You're like, well, you can't keep a hot streak going for that long. So heading into season 7, I was already in the oh no kind of train, because we were already, we had 4 weeks of recaps leading into this, and now that we're finally here and finally getting to see Star and Stripe in action, I'm all in. Like this is even the blue sky problem isn't an issue with me. Like
you signed up. You are firmly signed up.
Yeah, because it's, I don't know, like they've, because of Star and Stripe, I guess her presence allows for it, for them to dig more into the comic book side of things, into the presentation, rather like, and to like kind of amp up the bold coloring. And this is why the blue sky doesn't matter here. It's because everything's so bold and vibrant and like just I it's incredible. Like, it's not like, high intensity action that in like Jujutsu Kaisen or whatever, or as we've seen in My Hero Academia's past, but the way things are laid out and the way things are done, it's dynamic. And I'm my issue now, my worry now is like, okay, you did that for the premiere. Now let's see that with episode 2 and beyond.
Mhm. What do you think, Evan?
Yeah, I agree on all those points. I think that the way that they started was super hype. I think that the fight, I'm a big fan of Star and Stripe as a character, because
Yeah.
I think that Star and Stripe kind of is the most American, unapologetically American character I think I've seen from a manga creator before, because like she's like Captain America on steroids, effectively. The fact that she comes into Japan for the first time riding atop, are they like F-19 bombers or whatever?
I
Yeah,
don't know, but
yeah.
they're like some like souped up American military like fighter jets.
Just a big jingoist feel to it and everything. I think that like she works on that. But I'm a big fan, and I know that Nick has mentioned it in the past, and I'm kind of that same mentality where like if a gun was put to my head and I had to pick between the anime and the manga, I think I'd probably go with the manga, because I think that there are so many scenes and character designs and all this stuff that Kohei Horikoshi was able to create that Studio Bones does a pretty good job of hitting sometimes. But then there are other times that I feel like, oh well, I think that this works a little better on the printed page and everything. I'm anxious to see where they go. I think that like there's this battle in general, like Star and Stripe creating the big cloud version of herself, the big sky air version of herself, was done really well. So a great return for the series, I thought.
Yeah, and I think one thing what's not getting as much focus with season 7 so far is that we have, a very consistent cast of animators, directors, executives that work with Bones and its various animation teams that pretty much just focus on My Hero Academia. But this year we have Naomi Nakayama, who's come in and kind of found herself promoted up to series director with season 7. So a lot of what we saw in episode 1 was storyboarded by Nakayama, which looks fantastic. So if that's the kind of new direction that we're getting in season 7, I'm extremely confident in what we'll be seeing, as we move forward. For people who are listening that aren't familiar with Star and Stripe, the character is quite literally larger than life. It's like the weird American pastiche parody of All Might, and All Might is already like a superhero parody. So the levels are just so intense. But they did an excellent job bringing that to life. And Shigaraki, like as you see him in the first episode, the true first episode of season 7, gosh, he's just, I mean, it's hard for me to think of a villain from Shonen Jump that I like better in the modern era. I say modern era. There's an asterisk there. Modern era Shonen Jump. It's hard for me to think. He's just so nasty. Like truly, I could not think of a better successor to, All for One and everything. But season 7 looks great. Star and Stripe looks great. We're now firmly on the road to, moving into what I know manga readers are excited about. We're heading into the final war, like the big war arc that My Hero Academia has spent like the last 2 years on in the manga. So we have plenty of content to cover. And also, I'll say this: the opening for season 7 slaps. The artist who oversees the opening track of season 7 also oversaw Unravel for Tokyo Ghoul. It's so good. It's a banger for sure. It'll get stuck in your head.
I wanted to extrapolate on, because Megan, you brought it up.
Yeah.
I am on the flip side, I'm a huge fan. I like All for One a little better than Shigaraki, but that's because All for One has what might be my favorite villain theme of all time. I think that orchestra opera
Mhm.
kind of thing is just, it works so well in terms of the ominous, like when he arrived for the first time in season 3, I thought that was such
Mhm.
an amazing build up. But in that episode, because I think I wrote a note on it when I was actually watching it, the visual of All for One and Shigaraki merging, and he's like holding
Yeah.
himself. What an amazing, that was captured really well by Bones in terms of the two of them kind of like fusing, but not really. Very
Mhm.
creepy stuff. That was neat.
I know, I know. Anytime My Hero Academia starts to lean into that good old body horror, you know, My Hero Academia meets Junji Ito kind of aesthetic, I'm in
Mm.
for it, 10 out of 10. So, we have season 7 firmly at a go. We had the first big episode, and now we're gonna be moving forward with it, so we will have to stay tuned. But
Yeah.
aside from My
Uh,
Hero Academia, we
yeah.
also got something very important for me personally, because Attack on Titan released a new chapter. You thought it was over. You thought it was over. It's not over. In Japan, the latest art book for Attack on Titan was released, and in it was contained, I think it's like an 8-page one shot created by Hajime Isayama, the uh, creator of Attack on Titan. And my favorite thing is it's called Bad Boy Levi. That's the name of the one shot. So obviously, this one shot is all about Levi, who and the Attack on Titan, fandom is an incredibly popular character. I will never forget all of the season 1 thirst tweets that went live, back in the day. But we got a new one shot. Unfortunately, it is not available, officially in English. But if you know how to read Japanese, you can get it, or you can buy a version of the art book and use Google Lens Translate to figure out what's going on. But essentially, what this one shot does is it gives us a kind of backstory into Levi that we didn't know previously, because it really breaks down the relationship that Levi had as a child with his mom in the underground, which is just as depressing as you would expect. It's so depressing. I mean, I don't know why I expected anything different from Attack on Titan, but this entire one shot is just like depression, the one shot. Like, Levi's there, just so you know what happens in this one shot. We find out that he got his love of tea from his mom, because that's like the one thing that she wanted to like keep in life, to keep her humanity. And then she dies. And then he almost gets trafficked into the same kind of, you know, human trafficking system that his mother was part of. But then his, bloodline powers awaken. He just goes on an absolute, you know, bloodbath. And then that's when he meets Kenny. And then, at that point, they kind of have that weird kind of back and forth, because, Levi was living by himself as a kid until he was strong enough that Kenny just left, which is really depressing. Levi has had such a hard life. But my question is, which other characters in Attack on Titan needs a one shot like this?
Hmm. Hmm. I I don't know. See, okay, here comes the negative part of me again.
Hey, we love it. We gotta have
Yeah,
somebody here.
I'm kind of done with Attack on Titan.
You're
Like,
done? I mean,
yeah,
also, yes.
yeah. Like in terms of of course, whatever comes out, we'll cover it for for here, Anime Initiative, and for comic book itself. Of course, I'll do what's necessary. But at the same time, am I going to care about it? No. Am I going to personally seek it out? No. Attack on Titan. We had 2 finales for it, and then an extra finale on top of that finale. With Isayama himself going, "Oh well, that ending wasn't right. Let me flesh it out even further." So I've personally had enough, and so
Mhm.
like, do I need to know more about those characters? No, I've kind of put that franchise behind me. It's a piece of my anime loving past, and that's where it's gonna stay.
I can kind of see that mentality. I think that like Hajime Isayama had a story to tell, and it feels like it wrapped perfectly. Even though I know that a lot of folks think that the ending of Attack on Titan meant that, oh, there's they're setting up for a sequel with the tree and everything. But like effectively it's kind of hammering home the idea, the theme of, well, war is cyclical, and as long as humanity is
Yeah.
still around,
Yeah.
that's going to keep happening. So but when it comes to like, are there any characters that I really think like whatever Hajime Isayama really, whatever he wants to do, like I'm cool with it. He has earned his retirement. God bless him. I hope he does open that spa. For those of you who don't know, Hajime Isayama really wants to open a spa that may or may not be Attack on Titan related in Japan. We'll see. But if I had to choose, like, gun to my head, who I would pick, I might want to learn more about like Erwin and like what his younger days were like, and
See,
like how.
that's what I was gonna say. Literally
Mhm.
the only other person I would care about is Erwin.
Mhm.
I've had enough of the main cast, and to be fair, I'd already had enough of Levi, but he's just, a popular enough character that this one shot fits.
Yeah.
But at this point, the only other thing would be Erwin, because he's also got that, like, fan, or oh my gosh, or Hanj.
Hanj,
Hanji,
yeah, yeah.
however you want to pronounce her name. I hear it both ways. How I want to know how she became the way she is, because she's she's eccentric. That's the word
Mhm.
I'll use.
Yeah, and even then, right? Like, and even then, like, I get following the money, right? Of course,
Oh, of course,
you want
all of
to,
that.
yeah, follow the money, do what gets you paid, right? But also, yeah,
We're good. Well, for those who also don't know, Isayama is working on a new project right now with Yuki Kaji, who's the voice of Eren in Attack on Titan. They are working together on a project, on a manga that is essentially, about voice acting, but shonen dramatic voice acting.
it can
So
work. It can work.
yeah,
We've
it could
seen,
work. True. I
yeah,
mean, there is a manga for everything, truly,
yeah,
and an
yeah.
anime
We've
for
seen,
everything.
yes, with Shonen Jump in particular. We've seen, Bakuman, which is the manga
Mhm.
creating Shonen Jump manga. We've seen, oh man, I'm blanking, but there was. I'm totally blanking. There go all the examples I had, but
Is
There's
it
every example
is
that was
it is
in
it
your
get
head.
your hands off
yes, that
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
that's not, yeah, that's not the
no,
Shonen Jump
no.
one, but yes, the filmmaking one. There are anime about voice acting. There are anime about like fashion, runway modeling, and designing. So it's like, it's literally like,
Princess Jellyfish, still my
yes,
favorite anime series of all time. Talk to me about it.
yes, yeah, it could totally work. See, that sounds more exciting. Don't go back to the well that we've already left behind.
The
Please move forward
depressing
with the,
well.
yeah, yeah.
Look, look, look. I'm all for depressing. I know Evan is. He loves Berserk. We
Yeah.
all have those things within us that crave angst. But I'm okay to leave Attack on Titan where it is. But if
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
aren't, there is a new one shot out. It focuses on Levi and his sad, sad history. So there's that, if you're interested. Also, speaking of me loving Princess Jellyfish, I have an update from last week's episode, because I said when we were talking about what anime cafe collaborations we wanted to come to America, I said Oran High School Host Club, and then all three of us were like, man, it's been so long since that show has been relevant. It's never going to happen. Well, joke's on you, because a brand new Oran High School Host Club cafe collaboration was just announced for Japan. It's based on Alice in Wonderland, so it's Haruhi in Wonderland. So that's it. That's my answer. I want that one to come to the United States.
I mean,
One
it's
Piece
about
and Oran High
time.
School Host Club.
It's about time for like a reboot too, isn't it? It's been like
Man,
20
I
years,
promise
something like
you
that.
right now,
Mm.
I have been banging that drum for years. I've been in this industry for like a decade now, and since I started, I have been asking for an award because it never finished. It didn't finish adapting. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get so I cannot stress how much I loved Oran High School Host Club, and yeah, it's time. It's time. That'll be a new episode coming forward. Just the entire episode. Why we need more Oran High School Host Club. But for our actual next and final news IP stuff, we're gonna be talking about One Piece because we got some
Mhm.
good One Piece updates. One of them I forgot to mention. We're getting a new One Piece novel, which is all about Rora Noah Zora. I can never say his full name. It's so hard, all the R's. Roro Noah
Noah
Zoro. I
Zora.
know this is why they just call him Zoro. It's so hard,
It's
all the
the it's
consonants.
the it's the 30 Rock rural juror. Rural juror?
Or the
Rural juror.
Yeah, it's the
you know? Rora Noah Zoro is getting his own novel. So previously, Ace got one, Law has gotten one. There's the One Piece heroines novels. And now we're getting one for Zoro that's going to explore what his kind of young adulthood life was as a bounty hunter, a pirate hunter before he joined up with Luffy and before we met him in the East Blue. So that series is supposed to be starting this summer. Again, don't know if we're going to be getting an official English translation of it. Viz has been unfortunately pretty slow in releasing those One Piece side novels. Hopefully that changes because One Piece is getting a lot bigger here in the United States. But
Mhm.
Rora Noah Zoro is getting his time in the spotlight, and that's all I care about. Because if you don't know, I'm still in my One Piece era. I just finished. I mean, to be clear, I've already watched the show completely several times, but I restarted my journey. And I just finished the Fishman Island arc, so I'm already post time skip. And man, it's such a good show. It's so
Mm.
frustrating.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Like,
well,
I mean, we were talking about Attack on Titan, right? And characters we want to see more of. One Piece
yeah,
is the exact opposite, right? Like
yeah,
you hear the idea of a Zoro story, and immediately you're like, yeah, of course.
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
This only makes sense. Like I'm like I was thinking about this the other day because all of the One Piece main Straw Hats, they've all really had like an arc that expands on them. Like we
Mhm.
had Nami with, the Arlong Park. We had, more recently we had well not I say more recently, but it's been like 8 years. But like Sanji with his family or the people who birthed him, he does not refer to them as family for Whole Cake Island. Zoro got a little bit more of kind of an expansion with the Wano Country saga, but there are a couple characters that don't have a really great, secondary arc like Brooke or Tony
Mhm.
Tony Chopper. So I would love to see one of them get a more in-depth, um, you know, novel moving forward, something akin to Zorro. Um, so that's my plea. That's my suggestion. I mean, Sanji even got that manga from the creators of Food Wars. So like, come on. Like, come on. Give us something for have the artist behind Beastars do one for Tony Tony Chopper.
Oh, that
Oh
would be
yeah,
great.
That's
yeah.
it.
That's a great
That's my
idea. Yeah.
suggestion. All right. But as our last news bit for One Piece, this is actually about the live action series, which
Mhm.
this is our 12th episode of Anime Initiative. Round of applause, everybody, for
Wow.
listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, we started this long
We made
after.
it. We
Yeah,
We
made
made
it.
it.
12 whole episodes. Woo! Yeah, we started this show long after Netflix's adaptation of One Piece went live, so we haven't really covered a lot of it. But as the summer is encroaching, we're moving into the period where production is supposed to start on season 2. So for those who don't know, May 5th is not just Cinco de Mayo, it's also Luffy's birthday. So there were a ton of global installations of the various gear forms Luffy has all across Europe. And for Netflix, they released a little promo video starring Iñaki Godoy, who is the actor behind Luffy in the live action series. So he brought out a cake. He did the whole happy birthday Luffy thing. And the one thing everybody noticed is that the cake looks basically like a candle. And the candle that is on the cake has the wick that is shaped as the number 3, which looks exactly like the hairstyle we see Galdino, aka Mr. 3, sport in the
Oh
manga,
God. That's
where we first meet him. Where we first meet him in Baroque works in the Little Garden arc for the Arabasta saga. So it looks like we're getting some decent confirmation that, I mean, we already knew we were heading into the Arabasta saga, but I think everyone was kind of like, how are they going to tackle Baroque works? They have some wild designs, but this candle is suggesting they're gonna stay true.
We're gonna get someone with a giant hair 3 in season 2, and I can't wait to see how the show pulls it off, because what we love about the live action show is that that attention to detail in the costuming, right? So is that going to be a bridge too far? Who knows? Is it like does it have the goodwill of the first season to pull off a ridiculous look like that? Who knows? But I am excited to see it. It also means if just Mr. 3 is being teased, we're likely getting the Little Garden arc, which is something I thought I thought was going to get skipped over in favor
Me
of like
too.
streamlining Alabasta. So like I'm so curious. This is what a tease. What a tease,
What a
Netflix.
tease
You
that
did it.
confused literally every single person.
I
Yeah.
thought for sure they weren't going to do Mr. 3 because he's very goofy. I mean, just in
Yeah.
terms of like
He's incredibly goofy.
he's incredibly goofy, but not just his appearance, but like his power set and all of the making the candle armor and all that stuff. But I think the most important takeaway we can have from creating a live action adaptation of the Little Garden arc is that we're probably getting some of my favorite One Piece supporting characters, the Giants, Dory
Yeah.
and Proggy.
Yo, that's
Yes,
the
well,
thing too. How
yeah,
are
we're
they
gonna
going to do
have to get the
Giants?
Giants.
Yeah.
Because like back in the day, during,
Gick.
when like the Arabasta saga was going on, we were like, oh, Giants are cool. They're probably gonna have no important bearing on this series moving forward. And then that's not true. The
Yep.
Giants are, they've got quite an impact on the series as we move forward. So yeah, I'm curious. It's definitely thrown off my expectations because we know Ichiro Oda, the creator of One Piece, has already teased that Tony Chopper is going to be appearing in season 2. So we know we got to do that. We got to cover Drum Island. We've got to cover Loguetown before then. Somehow Princess Vivi's going to get into the mix. Is Ace going to show up? Now we have Mr. 3. There's just like a lot of stuff that like is stacking up to happen. And I know even season 1 of Netflix's One Piece adaptation had a lot of content to cover, but now I'm looking down the barrel of season 2 and I'm like, how are you gonna fit all this together?
Oh my god. And if they do 8 episodes again, like is that enough?
I don't know. I don't
Seems
think so.
impossible.
I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like personally give them a 10 episode order. I feel like season 1 proved the theory, the hypothesis. So it deserves a little extra wiggle room in terms of episode order. But like there's supposed to be some major characters, and I mean, it, I, I don't know if season 2 tries to finish the Arabasta saga entirely, plus Drum Island and Loguetown. I don't. That's
And
such,
then
that's a lot.
of course they're going to want to include more of the new stuff they've already included, right? Like we're going to get Garp and Kobe updates. So there's just more stuff on top of everything that it's just like I have full faith in this team to pull it off, but right now we're in that anxious period of how. It's the how are you going to pull it off?
Yeah,
what's going to be sacrificed, right? Like what's going to be sacrificed? What's going to be added to make this coherent in such a short running time?
All I know is, as both a person who deeply loves Tony Chopper and Porcos Diaz, if either of them are cut, sobs. I know Tony Chopper can't be cut. He's part of the Straw Hats. But like if they move around how Ace is introduced in the series with Smoker, that's like one of the first things I ever remember really watching in One Piece as like a younger person or child, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And just like I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And also, this isn't even to mention the fact that season 2, everybody and their mother is waiting for a casting update, because if we get Tony Chopper, we get Dr. Kureha, and we
Yep.
all know that Jamie Lee Curtis is the perfect actress to do that. She wants in on it. The team wants her in on it. So, like, there's a lot. There's a lot to
There's a
cover.
lot. There
Do you want
is
to
a
do you want to
lot.
hear my dream casting for One Piece season 2? Is I know that the cast of the Straw Hats said on a previous red carpet that they'd love Danny DeVito to join the cast, and I would love Danny DeVito to play Wapol. Man, that would be that would be so cool. I think that would be perfect
That would be the wildest casting imaginable.
Oh man, there's
Danny
so much.
DeVito has that range in him. He could nail a One Piece character.
Oh, he'd do it. He'd do it so well.
He's already played characters who eats trash, right? Like, you know,
Right.
I'm the trash. I eat trash. You know, now you're gonna have Walpole out here just eating everything. So it's like, well, and then that's the other thing too. How long is Drum Island going to be? Because it is also a fairly long arc. So it's like, I don't know. Are they gonna do the fighting bunnies? Are they gonna do?
Yeah, it's. I mean, they have to get into that fight. There's just gonna be a lot of things condensed. Honestly, that Mr. 3 tease just like it has sent me spiraling, because it really put into my head like how expansive the Arabasta saga can be, and how much there's going to be within it, and if we are going to try to, I don't know. I trust the team. That's above my pay grade to figure out how to fit all this into one season. That's not my job. I'm sure they are working with Ichiro Oda and his gang to figure this out. But I mean, it looks like Mr. 3's coming. So you know, brace yourself for the glory that is Baroque Works. You know, it's still looking like season 2 is supposed to start production, you know, around June, July. So you know, hopefully we'll be getting some footage maybe by the end of this year. And you know, the show season 2 should you know, likely be going live in 2025, you know, earlier in the year. So with that in mind, we shall see. But for now, we got to take a break. We got to pay for this show. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about the return of Hunter x Hunter and why we desperately need to give manga artists a vacation. Hello, welcome back to Anime Initiative, where we talk all things anime, manga, otaku, and more. We are back for our deep dive of the section where me and Evan are going to be talking about Hunter x Hunter, one of the most beloved, I would say, IPs that Shonen Jump has ever touched, and the entire situation regarding its current comeback plans, and also the situation and context really behind why the entire internet loses its mind when Hunter x Hunter starts posting updates. So let's kind of break it down a little bit. So if you did not know, in the past like 4 days, the creator of Hunter x Hunter, Yoshihiro Togashi, he has an account on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. He's got so many followers. He's one of the most followed manga creators on the platform. And he started posting basically little numbered pages of drafts that he was working on for manga, which he's done before in the past, leading up to the return of Hunter x Hunter in Shonen Jump in some form, digital or print, to say that the manga is coming off of hiatus. So far, he's posted like 12, 15 different pages where you can only see the numbers themselves. You can't see anything that's going on. But the entire world has lost its mind over it. I mean, I was seeing like major like trade publications like the New York Times and stuff posting about Hunter x Hunter returning, which is insane. But there's just so much conversation built up around Hunter x Hunter and when it returns from hiatus. So, Evan, well, how are you feeling about this whole update? Because it's been wild every day waking up and being like, how many papers and pages has Togashi-san posted?
I mean, I'm obviously hyped for it. I love Hunter x Hunter. I think most anime fans, one of the strengths of Hunter x Hunter is that it's able to kind of take what works so well about shonen stories, but Yoshihiro is able to kind of inject a lot of weird, off the beaten path stuff that you otherwise wouldn't see. You know, love or hate stuff like Greed Island. That's so different in terms of like he took a big risk there. And like,
Mhm.
especially without going into spoiler territories, like the ending of the Chimera Ant arc remains like this big controversial thing. Um, and looking at it, you're able to kind of see why Hunter x Hunter has been able to forge this big fan base in its originality and everything.
Mhm.
And so there, I mean, there's a reason why, as you mentioned, like when he got on social media, he almost immediately became the most followed the most followed manga artist of all time, just because
Yeah.
people are, I think for a long time there was a lot of people, and this is like something that I did with Berserk, that a lot of people just kind of felt that, okay, Hunter x Hunter is over. Like it's been years since the last chapter came out. And so in recent memory, having these new chapters come out and everything has just been this great, like it brings a surge back to the series and everything. And I understand why fans are excited about it. Me being a fan, us being fans.
Mhm. Yeah, so one thing that, goes in tandem when we talk about Hunter x Hunter, and, it's kind of like a meme joke that people are like, "Oh, you're talking about Hunter x Hunter? Oh, you're talking about hiatus," because unfortunately, yeah, it is the joke that never ends. Hunter x Hunter, it is not what it is best known for. It's best known for being just an absolute slap of a series, but
Mhm.
it has undergone a large number of hiatuses, in its time. Starting in 1998 when the series got started, it very rarely skipped, and that was pretty much the case up until 2005. It was in 2006 that Hunter really took like its first major hiatus, and then it's never really recovered from there. We've had you know, pretty consistent stints of it being on hiatus for over a year, since 2006. The longest consistent break it had started in 2019 because it was
Mhm.
on hiatus until like so from 2019 to the very end of 2020 it was on hiatus.
Yeah.
Then it came back. We had a few chapters in 2023 and now it has been on hiatus since then. So it has been over a year since we've gotten any new chapters of Hunter x Hunter. So when people talk about kind of the anticipation behind the series, they talk about the nostalgia that's involved with it. When the series comes back, it's a big deal. It's a big deal
Yeah.
in the franchise. It's one of those classic Shonen Jump series that began in the 90s that's still going on that had that kind of level of excitement to it. Um, so, like, you can understand the excitement, but the thing that I feel like has really shifted in the last, 5 years about Hunter x Hunter is the awareness of the reason that it's on hiatus. You know, for a really long time, people would unfairly, say like, "Oh, well, the team behind Hunter x Hunter is just they're lazy or they don't wanna post things," and that is so untrue. Could not be further from the truth. I can't when I see posts like that, like, my blood pressure is it's not good because, the truth, unfortunately, is Hunter x Hunter is not being published on a regular basis because the creator, Yoshihiro Togashi, is in crippling pain. He has
Yeah.
a chronic health condition. Evan, do you wanna talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. It breaks my heart really to talk about it and think about it, because you can actually, one of the times where I realized he the manga artist for Hunter x Hunter, for those who don't know, his body has been ravaged by spending, so when a manga artist especially works on their craft, when they work on their stories, they're hunched over a desk for like 60 to 70 hours is like the low end.
Yeah,
That's effectively
at the
like they're
low end of the work week.
that's like the low end of the work week. And uh he has drawn a picture of how he draws now, which looks, I mean, it looks insane, but it's how he does. Like, he's curled over and he has his pad in front of him, and like his body is out of whack, and he's like drawing this. And it's worth stating that this kind of similar thing happened when he was working on Yu Yu Hakusho, which for those who
Mhm.
don't know, Yu Yu Hakusho is also considered one of the best shonen series that was created. And a lot of people have some issues with the controversial ending of that because it was a combination of he wanted to try working on new things, but also like his body was falling apart, so he came up with an ending that like kind of was summarized by characters who were talking about the big things that happened and everything. And
Mhm.
so it was interesting to see that, but it's it's just commentary on the terrible conditions that some of these manga artists like have had to go through and still continue to go through. You're at a certain point when you become big enough, you can have more leverage in terms of like spacing out or putting your manga on a hiatus. But
Mhm.
then there are other times where just like maybe your heart explodes at your desk. And that's like something that happens from overwork and stress and everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not
So
great.
that's to put it lightly. In 2019, 2020, 2022, um, you know, Togashi released a couple of statements where he was talking about the kind of crippling chronic pain that he was experiencing. I mean, to put it gently, it's basically like his back has been obliterated just
Yeah.
from posture, the amount of work he's had to do as a mangaka, operating under really intense and really competitive scheduling that comes with the territory of weekly publishing. Um, in a letter that he published to fans a couple years ago, just to read this so you can understand what this man has been dealing with. He said, I've been unable to sit in a chair to draw for about 2 years, but I've managed to resume writing by giving up the traditional way of doing things. Everyone, please take care of your hips. Until 2 weeks ago, before I wrote this letter, I was unable to wipe myself and had to take a shower every time I used the restroom. Every movement takes 3 to 5 times longer than a normal person. The back is very important. That's the kind of, like, crippling pain that this man
Mm-hmm.
is living with, and he refuses to give up. I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
leg
Mm-hmm.
the amount of tenacity in this man is insane. I mean, he's previously published author's notes where he says, he'll be stuck in bed, he'll crawl on all fours, find help, struggle to get up with them to go to the hospital. Then he says, "When your pain is a 10 on the scale of 1 to 10, you can't move your body even a centimeter throughout the night." So there's when you're talking about like, oh, well, he's just not doing this because he's got carpal tunnel or something. This man is in agonizing pain every minute
Yeah.
of the day, essentially. Um,
Cr-
the fact that
It's
he
like
makes a comeback at all, mind-boggling, truly.
yeah, I mean, the level of dedication it takes to keep moving forward when you're in that amount of pain, like regardless of if it's coming out on a weekly schedule. I think that like
Yeah.
one of the things that, especially with Toshihiro, that kind of made me think about the current state of manga in general. I think that one thing that has worked really well for some of these big time creators and everything has been the idea of number one, like I don't know how they do it on a weekly basis.
Oh, there's no way. I don't understand.
I think Ichiro Oda was built in a lab. Like there's no that how,
He is
how
Vegapunk.
he's yeah, however he was able to do it, it's amazing. But like there are examples of the now deceased Akira Toriyama taking on more of an editorial role versus drawing and allowing Toyotaro to kind of steer the ship. And there's also like
Mhm,
while Naruto's Masashi Kishimoto has done something similar where he's still writing the story, but there's an artist who's working on it.
mhm,
I think that kind of approach works well because we have to take care of our manga artists, people. They have to be taken care of because they're giving us the stories that we want and everything. And
absolutely.
I think that like, and even like, we don't need, I personally like don't need a new chapter every single week if it means that the creative minds, the creators are taken better care of. And just
Mhm,
hiring more assistants to help out with like the artistic duties and everything. I think that's a good way to kind of approach it. I think that like
mhm,
I wouldn't mind too much if Toshihiro were to kind of hand out more of the artistic duties to some assistance and everything. But I understand his mentality. It's his baby. He wants to
Yeah.
keep working
I
on it.
mean, in interviews, Yoshihiro Togashi says he really wants to get to the finale of the series that he has envisioned.
Hmm.
He wants to ink that. Um, and for those who don't know, Yoshihiro Togashi is married to the creator of Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
Some people have pitched like, "Hey, let's let's just change it up and have a Sailor Moon art style version of Hunter x Hunter finish it out." But he really does want to finish it. But I think really the awareness, I mean, this issue has been going on in manga for so long. I mean,
Hmm.
it's not a recent issue. This is a decades and decades compounded situation. But thanks to not only the global rise of manga, but social media, it has been easier to kind of disseminate this information of one, we're super nostalgic for Hunter x Hunter. We love it. It's such a great series. But also, we need to rally around this artist when he makes a comeback because he is in crippling pain
Yeah.
all the time because of
I,
it.
I think that one of the things that for those who are like, oh, well, is he ever going to finish this story or whatever? He has created an ending. There is an ending to Hunter x Hunter that you can actually do research on that I believe in Megan, maybe you know this better than me. But I think he released it as part of an exhibit for Hunter x Hunter where he's
Yeah,
like,
so
if I
he
can't,
released like a series of endings that he was considering,
yeah.
but he has kept the true ending to himself.
Oh, okay. Because
So
that's,
he
I
has an
was,
ending that is not been revealed yet. That is a
okay.
combination of what we've seen plus more stuff. That's the true ending. But
I,
he's released these scenario endings.
Oh, okay. Because I was actually thinking of like, there's the legendary manga that will probably never be adapted to an anime because it's impossible, called Vagabond, that was made
Mhm.
by Takahiko Inoue, who also made Slam Dunk. But he came to the realization that, hey, I don't know if I'm ever gonna finish Vagabond, either because I'm getting older, it's tough, but also the fact that it puts me in a bad mindset, like he said that
Yeah.
originally, but he did share what was effectively an ending to it.
Mhm.
So like that possibility is there. I think that like we just have to, all the manga artists, all the creators, all these storytellers, they're still people, and we have to kind of take that into account when we're thinking about like our favorite stuff
Mhm.
and how to treat them better so they can keep doing what they're doing.
Right. I mean, at the crux of the issue, Togashi-san is taking these hiatuses to protect what he can of his health. And,
Hmm.
I only wish he could have had that freedom to do it earlier, but the manga industry, it's not just a recent thing. Like I'll keep stressing, it is very, very competitive. Even, you
Hmm.
know, veteran creators like Masashi Kishimoto have had new series come out and they get canceled within 10, 12
Yeah.
chapters. Just
R.I.P.
because
Samurai 8.
yeah, Rip Samurai. Like if you have to be uh, you're essentially a workhorse, and
Hmm.
it goes from even new creators, to veteran creators. I mean, you look at Ichiro Oda of One Piece. His editors have frequently talked about. Ichiro Oda rarely sleeps. He has occasionally suffered from gouts and issues with blood sugar. Tite Kubo,
Hmm.
the creator of Bleach, has talked about him having some pretty gnarly shoulder injuries because of how he is drawing in that posture. Because even if you have the world's best posture, when you're drawing for 16 hours, 14 hours a day, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do. And that is the reality. A lot of these artists are truly, if they're working on a weekly schedule, so beholden to a tight schedule, and they don't get that opportunity to divert from it because this industry is so competitive. There's
Yeah.
also kind of the cultural implications. There is a term in Japan for dying for working yourself to death. It is, a cultural, I don't want to say norm, but there is a
Hmm.
normalization of that kind of uh, work ethic where, there is no work-life balance.
Yeah.
You work, and if you get some time to enjoy life outside of that, great. But yeah, it's such a difficult thing. I really, really am appreciative that Togashi-san's able to take these breaks. And,
Mhm.
even look at, we talked about this on the, our podcast last week, Yuki Tabata, the creator of Black Clover, he was recognizing this issue in his life where he was having health issues. He's married, he has a young child, his family is having some things that needed attending to. And he took the really brave step of being like, yo, I cannot do a weekly publication schedule anymore. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. I have to move to Jump Giga and do releases every 4 months. And you know what? Black Clover is still incredibly hyped when it comes out. So
Yeah.
I love seeing that step. And it is above my pay grade to try to, document and dissect the ways that the manga industry can address the ways in which its creators essentially have to pick between success, or not even just success, but just viability
Yeah.
versus their health. That is such a nuanced and also a culturally influenced conversation. But for us, international fans, it's something very worth recognizing because it hasn't been talked about too frequently until really the last 5 years or so with social media. People are now picking up on, oh, so this is the reason why Hunter x Hunter disappeared. It's not
Yeah.
because, oh, he's having carpal tunnel, or, oh, he just wanted to go, vacation in the Maldives. Like, no, Togashi-san his back is just, uh, I mean, I don't even know.
None of these guys go on vacation. It's not
None
part
of
of their
them go on
vocabulary.
vacation. When Ichiro Oda is like, "Hey, I need to take a break," I clap. I'm like, "Yes, you go take that break. You have earned it."
He
So
did
I'm
that as
looking.
a he did that as a direct response to Akira Toriyama
Yeah,
passing
when
on,
Akira
because he was
Toriyama
just like,
passed
I
away,
need
when
to take care of
Kentaro
myself.
Miura of, Berserk
Mhm.
passed away, you suddenly started to see more creators being like, "Oh, oh no.
Yeah.
Maybe I should take breaks."
Yeah.
So especially with Ichiro Oda, because he's one of the most dogged in terms of One Piece just going at it, but in the last 3 years, he has taken some really decent breaks. So,
Mhm.
I know for us as consumers, we're of the culture and mindset, like, we want it now, give me, give me, give
Mhm.
me. But let's also keep in mind, please give the manga artists a break. They
Yeah.
they really need it. If sacrifice your short-term need for the long-term goal.
Yeah.
That's what I have to say.
And also take care of yourselves. Even if you're not a
Yeah,
manga artist, take time
absolutely.
to sleep and go on vacations. Don't
Go look
work
at the
yourself.
sun, activate the vitamin D within you so it actually becomes useful. You
Mhm.
know, whatever you need to do, go on a walk with your kids. Like, that was the thing. This is my last point. One of the things that I will never forget as I came into the industry was, I mean, this wasn't when I came into the industry, but I will always remember when Naruto ended, the main series of Masashi Kishimoto.
Mhm.
Um, Ichiro Oda did an interview afterwards, and he said he spoke with Masashi Kishimoto, and Ichiro Oda was jealous that Masashi Kishimoto could go on walks with his kids whenever he wanted because he didn't have a manga to do anymore. And Ichiro Oda is still working on One Piece. And that just like broke my heart. I just like, go on a walk with your kids. Take a break.
Yeah.
Go on a hike with them if you want. I don't care. You have given so much, not just Oda, but to the artists and to the editorial staff that is backing these artists. It's a systemic cultural thing that, I hope we can at least, if not, have a quick, it won't be a quick fix, but at least if we can have the awareness and understand what these artists are going through, it gives them that space to be like, all right, well, maybe I should take a vacation. So
Yeah, I think that, like, especially with Ichiro Oda, could you imagine if he passed on before we found out what the One
don't
Piece
you
is?
take it back. Take it back right now.
I
You
take it
no,
back.
no, 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 no,
That'd
no,
be-
no, no. Knock on wood. I don't care. I don't care where there is wood around you. Knock on it. I am I have
That
dedicated
would be
I have dedicated too much of my life to One Piece at this point, man. Oh man, that just like
It's
made
a
me
mirror. It's a mirror, guys. It's a mirror. That's what
oh
I'm
my
saying.
gosh, oh my
That's
gosh.
always been my guess.
That'll be a future episode with us predicting the One Piece, and
What
then we'll
it
see
is,
how badly we get it wrong. Well, that is it for our show today. Us talking about manga artists. Please send them love if you're online. If you follow any of your favorite manga artists, Kohei
Mhm.
Horikoshi, Togashi-san, just send them some love. Let them know. Let them know that you love and appreciate them, and also let us know that you love and appreciate us here at Anime Initiative.
Yeah.
You can find me, Megan Peters, at Megan Peters CB on socials. Where can they find you, Evan?
You can find me at EV Comedy on socials, and yeah, totally send us stuff because we got some fan mail recently that made us feel really good and happy, and we
Oh,
always love.
truly, it made a really bad day of mine really great.
Yeah,
We
we love
we
hearing that stuff because we throw out a lot of stuff into the void, and we're like, are people like listen? Do people like this? And it's like, oh yeah, they do. That makes us feel nice. So yeah.
Yes, and if you want to find Nick, he is also at Valdezology on X, so
Mhm.
you can find us there as well. And of course, just hit us up on Twitter. If you also want to just leave us a 5-star review on wherever you get your podcast, that also works. Apple, Spotify, wherever it may be, leave us a review. Let us know if you have any questions about our favorite anime or what we think the One Piece is. Just let us know. We would be more than happy to answer those questions for you either there or on social media. So, if you want to continue listening to what comicbook.com has to offer, we have obviously our flagship podcast, Comic Book Nation, where we talk all things geek. But we also have several spin-off series. We have a Wild Podcast has appeared where I talk about Pokemon all the time with my co-host Christian Hoffer. We also have Phase Zero with Brandon Davis, and then we have some other shows like Quick Save, which is our gaming podcast, and the Poll List, which we use to talk about comic books. So, with all that said, hope you've
Mhm.
enjoyed, and we will see y'all next week.